Welcome to this episode of ISV Talks. I'm Carol Livingston with Dynamics Connections and your host of ISV Talks. And on this episode, we have two people from Nuvei, Nicole Ronchetti and Mike Silver. Welcome, guys.
Thanks, Carol.
Hi, Carol.
There. So, Mike, do you want to introduce yourself? And then Nicole, tell us a little bit about yourself. Also, tell us how long you've been with Nuvei, too.
Sure, I'll start off. I've been with Nuvei about 4 months now, so I'm new to the game, new to the payments world, but a veteran of the ERP space. A quick history, if you don't know me, but had my own bar practice here in Chicago for 24 years. Started back in 1989. We sold the business around 2012. Spent a little time at Acumatica, a bunch of years at Intact as they were building their channel. A bunch of my buddies at Microsoft asked me to join them when they were just launching Dynamics, and particularly sat on the Business Central launch team for 5.5 years, and then transferred my way back into the channel. And now the folks at Nuvei asked me to come help build their channel. So I've been bouncing around since I left my own business. Along the way, I won an Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year award and sat on the board of directors of a well-established 100-year-old community bank here in Chicago for a number of years, which was a great experience.
Wow, excellent. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And Nicole, introduce yourself. How long you been with Nuvei?
Thanks, Carol. So my name is Nicole Ronchetti. I'm the Senior ERP Product Manager here at Nuvei. I've been at the company for about a year and a half now. I came on board. I've been in the ERP space for quite some time. Most recently, I kind of came from the Acumatica space. So people might know
Oh,
me participating in AcuConnect. I was the AcuConnect president for a number of years with that
yeah.
group. And previously, before that, worked as a consultant doing Sage 100 for many, many years. And then, Acumatica, and then most recently here at Nuvei, managing the Dynamics and NetSuite product lines.
Awesome. So yeah, so you guys actually have been in the
Been
channel
around.
in various roles. That's interesting. Yeah, it's a small world, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Nicole, can you give us a little history and background? How did the company start and where are they at today?
Sure. And I like talking about this because I myself have had a long history with the company prior to even coming on board as an employee, right? So many, many moons ago, there was a company called Sage Payment Solutions. Many of us remember Sage Payment Solutions from probably 10 years ago now, 15 years ago, when Sage Payment Solutions was going on. So I was a Sage Payment Solutions user back before I got into the ERP space and was using Sage Payments
Okay.
long, long time ago. Sage Payments then became Paya after they separated from Sage and decided to diversify and be a payments provider for multiple ERPs. Then in 2022, Paya was acquired by Nuvei, and Nuvei is a large processing company that focused mainly on online gaming channels, things like that. We actually even have a partnership with Microsoft. We're processing payments on Microsoft Online in some of their international markets, in
Oh,
our
wow.
gateways. Right. So the company's gone through a number of different iterations of, over the years of growing. But the Paya Nuvei acquisition that had happened in 2022 was a huge opportunity for both Paya and Nuvei because Nuvei didn't have any of the integrations, right? Paya had
Mm.
created all of these integrations for all these different ERPs, but they focused mainly on North America, whereas Nuvei has those global capabilities, all those different alternate payment methods, different transaction types, different currencies, right? So those two companies that acquisition happening really broadened the capabilities of what everyone was doing, right? Because Paya
Oh,
was able
great.
to acquire all those international capabilities and Nuvei was able to utilize all those ERP integrations. So it really was a perfect merger for both of the companies. And,
Yeah,
continues to grow and expand on our technology moving forward too, right? So it's
great.
very interesting history. Paya was very well known in the ERP channels. Coming from the Acumatica space, they were
Yeah,
my chosen payment provider that I would use as a Acumatica consultant, right? So that hence
great.
why I wanted to join the team because I loved
Yeah,
servicing, using their solutions so much. And that's why I came on board a year
good. Well, thank you for that company history and a little personal history there.
ago. Yeah.
So, Nicole, since you're product manager here, tell us the basic description of Nuvei's products and what are your unique features?
Sure. So, one of the things that we really like to focus on with our product development, especially because all of our product managers are all former ERP consultants. We're all software people, right? We definitely have people at the company who are payments experts, right? With the actual nitty-gritty of what they're doing with payments processing, things like basis points and dollars and all that. We focus on the ERP side and we focus on recognizing what do customers really need? What are they really asking for? And that's what we try to write into the product. Currently, our integration for Dynamics is currently only available for Business Central. We will be looking at F&O and, any other products as, we grow within the channel. Right now, we're focusing solely on BC. And, we really try to add as many features as we possibly can into the product to streamline the whole workflow. So things like automatic fee recovery and surcharging, right? Our click to pay portal. All of those things are very cost effective to put into our solution, and they're all just included in the gateway processing fees, right? So it's not like they're paying another third party to
Right.
integrate with our gateway or anything else. We're both the processor and the integrator offering that full circle support end to
Mhm.
end. Whereas some of the other solutions may have where they're connected differently and you have to talk to this person, but then the gateway side is somebody else. It's a full circle support situation with us.
Yeah.
One of the other things too, just kind of unique to our product that I've not necessarily seen a lot of in the Business Central space is the service management module that BC has. We also have credit card integration into there. So if you're doing
Ah,
service contracts, you can set like a default credit card to use for that contract. If you're doing, service
yeah.
invoices, service orders, we have all of our payment processing in that inside of that module as well too.
So it sounds like you're embedded inside of Business Central, like all of the Nuvei windows are part of Business Central is a fair statement.
Completely. Yes. All of the processing is done directly
Yeah.
inside of Business Central. We try to keep the users in there as much as possible. We do have that customer
Love that.
portal that's available that's
Yeah.
external, but everything else is you're really doing it inside the software. So voids, refunds, anything. You're not going out to a secondary web
Mhm.
page or anything else to do that.
Nice. And how many gateways do you have?
We have a number of gateways. We have probably about I think 4 different gateways we have available inside of Business
Okay.
Central currently.
Options.
Definitely options depending on what exactly they need, right?
Okay, all right. And I think we kind of covered you're compatible with, many ERPs. I don't know if you wanted to run through what ERPs you're compatible with, but that would be helpful just to have a list.
Yeah. Mike, do you want to take that one or you want me to take that one?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's all the major players in the market today. So Acumatica is certainly a player in our space. The
Yeah.
full suite of Sage products going back to the legacy Sage 100, 300 products. Sage Intact is certainly a big play for us.
Mm-hmm.
Nicole mentioned Business Central, and we've got a new relationship with NetSuite. We've got a number of other, call it smaller player ERP products in the works. And SysPro is now a partner of ours. I don't know if that's public knowledge yet, but oh well, I'll get in trouble if I do. We're talking with a whole bunch of other ISVs that need payment solutions to tie to them. Some really, really
Yeah.
great plays to bring some kind of, I'll call it IP, almost solution stacks to the table for partners that take payments along with
Yeah.
other solutions. So we've got a full suite of solutions. QuickBooks, we've actually got a big play with Intuit and just recently brought in a very, very large Intuit partner, which is going to be a really cool play for us. So we've got a pretty comprehensive solution set across lots of products and platforms. It's really cool.
And you've just been in the Business Central space, so just new to Dynamics, right?
This year is our first year having an integration for Dynamics.
Okay. So, Mike, so tell us about specialization. How is your partnership program different? What differentiates your solution? And how can partners work with you?
Right. It's a great question. I will say The reason I probably made the jump over here to Nuvei was a couple things. One, a lot of the stuff Nicole talked about, the history of the company. In addition to Microsoft Online, I learned recently we're also the processor for Xbox, right? So we've got a huge company behind us, a major play in Europe, which I think is a big differentiator as far as what we can bring to a partner program.
Yeah.
We've, gosh knows how many different kind of payments. I've also learned that we work with cyber currencies, with cryptocurrencies. We've got a whole team of
Okay.
AI people now driving AI solutions, not just in our ERP products, but around what we do holistically. As far as my role, and the interesting part and what got me excited about joining Nuvei was the opportunity to bring something new to the partner channel. So I'll just kind of go back and think about my time over at Microsoft. We were launching Business Central and trying to get the partners to say, you should come and join this stuff. And there was all kinds of concerns about the initial price points and where the margins are going to come from. And over the years, with a lot of the training that Microsoft gave, just a handful of us helping the ERP VARs, we learned that there's so much involved around bringing additional IP and differentiation to the partner channel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as I looked at what Nuvei can offer and how they could stack in, one, it's a solution that's needed almost in every company. So it's not pinpointed, right? It's not simple, but it's something that a partner can get their head around pretty easily. You don't need to hire more additional people. The revenue model, it's a consumption model based on the volume that your customers drive through the payment solution. You don't have to renew them every year. You don't have a subscription base to worry about. So it's
Right.
revenue that's just coming in the door without a whole lot of uplift. And then as I think about just bringing in part of this core basis solution, it's a great platform to use when you're building an IP stack, when you're trying to come and tackle either a vertical market or say, we're going to bring something very specific. So as I can try to bring some of that thinking into the partner channel, as we're thinking about partner programs, we can offer a solution kind of from a partner delivery perspective. We'll do everything for you, or you can do everything yourself. It's kind of a spectrum of where do you want us to play for you? So if you want help with sales and marketing, let us know. We'll do it all with you. If you just want to call us and refer us in, we'll do implementations for you. There's no costs to helping out. And it's a really interesting play of saying we can play in almost any role that you want us to. It's something we're rolling out, and that's kind of my responsibility is to try to get that refined and working better for the partner. So I'm all ears. I'd love to hear what the partners want to know, right? What's going to work best for you guys? We'll craft our programs to make it align with what's going to work best in your business, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, it definitely does. I like that you have that flexibility of, like you can use Nuvei when and where you need it in the resources and the programs you offer. So, Mike or Nicole, either of you, I'm kind of curious what you've seen in the channel. Both of you been in different roles and different, parts of the channel. So tell us, what have you seen, especially with partners and customers over the past few years?
Yeah, I mean, I think that especially when it comes to just payments, the topic of payments in general, I think that that has changed a bit where there are certain features like the fees recovery and surcharging that I mentioned before, where those were things that in the past people really looked at as like a nice to have, like, oh, that would be nice if it did that, but we don't really need
Mhm.
it. And now things like that are becoming much more of a requirement for businesses. I would say overall, it's just in general, businesses are getting smarter, right? They're getting smarter. They're wanting more. They're wanting to push the limits. They're starting to become more educated than they've ever been before about what the possibilities are out there. I would say some of that too may just be the fact that I've come from different ERPs into the Microsoft world. It could be from my perspective that maybe some of the Microsoft users are a little bit more savvy than some of the other ERPs that I've dealt with in the past. That's possible too. But it's just more and more, I think, especially with the talk of things like AI and everything else. Everyone is more educated than they've ever been before. So they're needing more and more. They're having more and more requirements. So there's definitely a lot more things being thrown at us of different oddball requirements coming from customers because
Yeah.
I mean, people kind of know that anything's possible, right? Mike, I don't know if you have any
Yeah,
to add
no,
to that too about the channel changing.
yeah. And, the things we said, I'll say this definitely was a big theme at Microsoft. And the things we saw as partners started adopting Business Central, or even my years at Intact as we were onboarding partners, what you found was there was a big need to differentiate, right? The partners had to start coming to the channel and saying, I'm more than just a gold partner. And They
Right.
have to start specializing in either their industry or specific technologies. And you
Mhm.
see the channel starting to be challenged with that, right? The partners are saying,
Right.
gosh, I need to be able to sell more effectively. My customer acquisition costs need to get in line. How am I going to do that, right? So I think that shift in the channel perspectives of customers are looking for either more industry or very deep technology specific knowledge. And the partners also need to get smarter about finding new additional ways of driving revenue into the business, right? So not only is
Right.
it the core ERP sale, right, which is great, and who knows where the margin going to be, but the publishers are all now, as we hear, trying to squeeze a little more out of the partner channels, or they're changing margins all the time. A strategic
Right.
ISV play becomes really important for every partner, and they all
Mm-hmm.
started to learn there are those core foundational things like payments and AP automation, or financial reporting, or intercompanies, or whatever they are, and then there are the vertical plays. So you
Yeah.
see that shift in the partner channel saying, wow, how are we going to get strategic about our ISV relationships so that we can come to market with a differentiated solution stack, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I still think a lot of partners struggle with that. Part of the work I did at Microsoft was going out and meeting with partners and going through workshops we had built to say, how are we going to differentiate you guys? How are we going to get your IP stack
Oh,
in
right.
line so that you can market effectively and talk to what the customer needs? So that to me is the biggest shift
Yeah.
I've seen. And I think there's a whole lot more available in the market today as technology continues to move
Mm-hmm.
forward and new technologies evolve. Partners got to get smart about that, right? And it's going to impact
Yes.
businesses as things progress,
Yeah, this no longer kind of waiting and see what happens, right? You kind of
right?
need to kind of lead and start working with these technologies so that you're not left behind, or your customers are getting the best innovation. Yeah.
Right.
So, Nicole, tell us a little bit about some of the new things you're looking to introduce and add value.
Yeah, so I may have mentioned it previously, but I'll mention it again. Our commerce suite that we have is, we do call that an add-on, but I typically whenever I'm doing demos with prospects and merchants, I always just tell them like, why wouldn't you have this on your implementation of payments, right? So with our commerce suite, that does give people the ability to have that customer portal where they can send all sorts of documents up
Mhm.
there and pay those documents. Some of the things about that portal and what we have on our roadmap too are things like being able to do pay by statement. So you could send full statements up to the portal and then, pay that entire statement and all of those invoices or any of those documents that are on that customer
Oh,
statement that
hey,
generated
that
out come in
that's
and
a
just
great
get applied,
idea.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really nice to be able to like provide those different abilities to not just the customers, but the customers' customers, right? Those businesses'
Great.
customers are making payments. They're doing a lot of self-service where they're logging into the Commerce Suite portal. They're reprinting receipts. They're doing all of this stuff that your AR clerk would typically have to be bogged down with, but the Commerce Suite can help, with that whole process flow. The nice thing about that, number one, it is customizable too, where they can customize that with their logos and colors and everything. But they can also do additional things where they set different payment limits, for example. Sometimes people say, well, I don't want my customers paying this $20,000 invoice with a credit card. I'd rather them use ACH. They can configure those rules in the Commerce Suite to put those restrictions or those guidelines on those
Nice.
different payment transactions. So just a lot of really nice features that make it super easy for people to implement those
Mhm.
different kinds of rules and restrictions, even if that functionality is not out of the box available in their ERP, right? So we
Right.
try to extend the functionality of the ERP as much as we can and, add that additional functionality.
Now
Great.
to add in real quick too, just from product perspective, as our global head of B2B kind of has been telling me, Nuvei's a big, big company. It's got a huge balance sheet. We've got a ton of dollars. We've got an entire development staff, right? People that I can tap into and say, do we need this capability? And if we do, and it's creating stickiness or challenges during a sales cycle, we can add those things quickly, right? We can build integrations. We can
Oh,
help
yeah.
partners with their own development on our platforms and connections.
Mhm.
We got an entire staff. And like I mentioned before, we've got a whole team of folks focusing on AI. How are we going to layer in AI or leverage what Microsoft's
Hmm.
doing in Business Central with the Copilot plays? And we're looking into those things and learning how we can leverage that inside a payments play, right? So it's a really cool technology platform with the resources behind it to bring that to market
Hmm.
and be able to come to market quickly and be competitive,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I really like that you have your own development resources. I think that sometimes when you're working with an ISV, they have third-party developers, and if it's, something happens or you want to quickly add something or change something, it's nice that you have your own team right there.
Yeah, a
So,
big team with lots of experience, a lot of years behind it. Yeah,
yeah.
it's really cool, really cool.
Yeah. Any other observations from partners about just AR automation and payment processing? We were kind of chatting about this before, that it seems like AP automation seems to get a lot of attention, but paying your vendors faster, but what about the AR side and collections and payment processing? Any observations on that and the trends you're seeing?
There's no doubt in the B2B space, right? Credit cards have not been real popular, although I think we're a little behind what we see in some other countries outside of the US. So Nuvei's bringing that experience from other countries because of our international presence. We
Hmm.
believe, and you can read about it, it's becoming more and more prominent. Companies are paying with credit cards more and more often. So the partners and the customers, like, they're getting more savvy. They're thinking we can get benefits by using credit cards. We've got floats we can
Right.
play differently. We can use multiple financing options with credit cards if need be, plus the benefits of mileage and points and whatever else you want to get. So it's a big shift in what's going on in the, call it, the AR side. The other thing about where Nuvei comes to play, it's not just AR, it's a platform across AR and AP. So when you look at partners where they're kind of siloed, we talked about ISV strategy. Nuvei brings both to the table. Now, we're not going to be real deep in AP, but we're going to be a processor on the back end, letting partners have the flexibility to do what they need to do with procure to pay solutions or work streams.
Right.
Where on the AR side, we can be fully integrated and provide a whole solution there, but also provide the ability to do
Hmm.
things that may be custom for a partner as well. So again, that flexibility, I think, is what differentiates Nuvei. It is definitely a competitive space. There's some great competitors out there that bring really good out of the box solutions to the table. And that's where we got to get better, right? We got to be better with our partner programs and our flexibility and the things Nicole's talking about being a little
Yeah.
more attuned to what the market needs.
I think one of the other things too, just to add, just about like the market changing, and this might sound a little bit silly because I think the internet's been around for how long now, but I think more partners and more merchants are coming to us and needing e-com integrations, right? So while in the past it was more so just like the retailers and people who were focusing on
Hmm.
the online space, and that's where you saw the e-com kind of coming into play, whereas now there's many more people who are even just distributors who are like, oh, we really need to create a B2B website, and process payments on there. So we're having to assist with a lot more e-com integrations than I think in the
Uh,
past. And those can be quite challenging too, especially from a payment standpoint, because you have to run the payments on the website, bring the information into the ERP, and make sure everything, is
yeah.
all matched up, right? So, not only do we have to make sure that we're processing payments in the ERP, but we also have to have that functionality on the websites as well. So, that is something that we've always been able to do, but just saying, it does seem like that's more and more becoming something that's more of a requirement, that people have integrated websites and less of a just, oh, you're an online retailer sort of.
Kind of an extension of your ERP, really, right?
Yeah, I mean, and everyone's got an integration to something for something,
Yeah.
right? So,
Right.
I would
Yeah.
say integrations is definitely, every year grows more and more, the amount of integrations that have to be done.
Right. Kind of changing topics a minute here. Tell us a story about a customer, a merchant that's used your solution, and how were they successful and why?
Sure. So, kind of along the lines of that e-com topic, we do have a customer that we're currently working with in Denmark who they have a website that is a completely proprietary website. We assisted them. They have their own internal programmers. They connected their website to our API and are processing transactions on that. We have them set up with their BC integration as well. We are also assisting them with giving them advice on how to, as I mentioned before, connect their Business Central to their website, so we're giving them some advice in that area too. But we're able to do that again, like we were talking about before, because we have our own development resources. It's all of our own tech, right? So we can assist with giving that sort of advice as to here's where you need to write that data. Even if we're not necessarily doing custom programming for you, we can point you in the right direction of how you can accomplish some of those things in those situations. So, we're supporting that customer all the way in Europe and, creating this integration for payment processing with them.
Yeah, well, and Nuvei's global, right? So, it's
Yeah.
just another time zone, really. That's
Yeah,
all the
exactly.
difference is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think I kind of already talked about trends, but is there any new developing trends, Mike, that you're seeing in the future?
I mean, it's the old story of the Copilot stuff at Microsoft, right? I'd say that's probably the biggest news these days. I don't know what really to make of it quite yet, although Microsoft's made some great
Yeah.
announcements about Copilot being embedded in Business Central, and particularly around some of the flows on the AR side, right? On sales order pieces and stuff. So
Yeah.
we have a team of people focused strictly on AI, and as we start looking through that, it's been a little bit of fun to be on a small committee, if you want to call it that, here internally on what are the use cases? Where does this stuff really apply to what we do?
Yeah.
I don't know that it's real easy. It's great when you talk about it from a technical perspective and you play with it and you see it do some cool stuff. When you start really trying to apply it to a regular daily workflow for a business application, it gets a little
Yeah.
interesting. But I'd say that's probably one of the biggest trends I'm seeing is just everybody's talking around the whole AI, particularly Copilot with Microsoft, and how it's going to
Right.
come into play and how it's going to get used and
Yeah.
why I should be involved with it, that kind of stuff. But
It's
we're on the
pretty
front.
exciting because there's a lot of possibilities, but it's sort of hard to get your mind wrapped around
Yeah.
how it could help in a business,
Right. And
process or
things we've talked
system.
about is like, asking AI which
Yeah.
invoices to pay first with
Right.
credit cards, or, what are the cash implications based on what I've got
Yeah.
outstanding in AP, and having AI come back with a good analysis. So we've tried and we're playing with some of that. It's cool. Then it's really cool to just be able to
Yeah.
ask the question and have kind of an answer come back. So that to me is the biggest trend. And again, the other one I think just really goes back to the partner channel, just partners needing to continually evolve and figure out
Yeah.
how to transition and differentiate, right? That's kind of
Right.
my personal passion is how can we help a partner do that? And
Yeah.
I think just because we're a small piece of the puzzle doesn't mean we can't be a great partner, right? And help with
Exactly.
that larger transition story. But the partners I
Mhm.
think will continue to be challenged in the market. The transitions from the on-prem to the cloud, they're
Yeah.
humming and they're going, but eventually that's going to dry up. So what are we going to do when it's just cloud stuff and we're only pulling in subscription revenue? How are we going to supplement that? How are we going to make sure that we got more revenue coming in the door with less effort, right? And I think that's the ISV play.
Yeah, definitely. Well, just in conclusion, Mike and Nicole, what's kind of the key reason a partner or customer might come talk to you? What's kind of the key driver?
A couple of different things. I think that number one is they need payments, right?
Good point.
But a lot of it, most of the customers that we've been seeing coming to us so far within the Microsoft space have been people who either need capabilities outside of the capabilities of what their current processor can provide them, whether that be hardware terminals, right? I don't think I mentioned that before, but the terminals for swiping, maybe they're on a processor that they can't get terminals. Maybe they need those international capabilities, right?
Right.
So that's where we're seeing some of those, especially too, or many customers are customers that had processing with us through a different ERP and they're moving to Microsoft BC, right? So those are
Oh,
customers that because they're moving off of, let's say, Sage 500 or something and migrating to Microsoft BC and they want to stay with us, they don't want to go to anyone else, right? So we see a lot of those too happening. Or even just people who are kind of going through a reevaluation process of like they're in the process of moving off of GP and going on to BC, and they're just doing an overall evaluation of looking to see what processors are out there, right? So
yeah. that makes
We see
sense.
people for a lot of different reasons these days.
A couple of things too. I mean, I talked to a partner recently that somehow was looking at our website and said, "You guys can do cryptocurrency, right?" I'm not sure we're quite all there in the ERP space yet, but we do
Uh-huh.
have solutions to accept crypto, and that's going to be who knows where that's going to go, right? Going forward, I think that's kind of a
Mhm.
cool angle. So you see all kinds of different things as I'm talking to partners now, looking at different things and
Right.
trying to get their head around what's out in the future that we need to be thinking about, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, great. Well, thank you for joining this episode of ISV Talks, Nicole and Mike. It was great having you. And Mike, I see you've got your contact info here. Do you want to go over that and how people can reach out to you and speak with you and your team?
Yeah, and I'd love to hear from partners. I know so many of them from my years at Microsoft and at Intact. Just a conversation. Anybody, please reach out to me, Mike.Silver at Nuvei. It doesn't have to be a discussion of just Nuvei or payments, but just talk ISV strategy, how we can work together from a better partnership perspective. If I can help connect somewhere inside the channels that I've known for all these years, still know a bunch of people at Sage and a bunch of people at Microsoft, by all means, I'm happy to help and just be a partner as opposed to just a solution provider for another layer of technology. And love to have the conversation around building IP and solution stacks and differentiation. I'd like to learn from you guys as much as hopefully I can share a little bit of knowledge over the years as well. But I think that's where we're headed in the future. So please use my email. I promise I'll respond as quick as I can and hope to hear from you.
All right. Well, thank you both for joining. And everyone, I'll see you on the next episode of ISV Talks. Bye bye, friends.
See ya. Thanks, Carol.
Thanks, Carol.